There's a saying that says, any emotion fully felt is bliss. We can be fully alive in our anger, in our sadness, in our grief, in our ecstasy, in our joy. All of it can be blissful and erotic when we allow ourselves to fully experience it. So for me, erotic aliveness is fully experiencing life. Hi, I'm Lee Noto. I'm an intimacy coach and a psychedelic therapist. One of my greatest joys in life is helping women become erotically alive and having the most fun while doing it.
Hey, I'm Taylor Davis. Welcome to Wildly Satisfied. I hope you enjoy the show. Okay, we'll start with episode 1, which is about erotic aliveness. I love this. I love this topic because I know that you're like an eroticism queen over here. Your erotic poetry and erotic writing is amazing, and I even loved the erotic writing exercises when I was in your program once upon a time. But I would like to know what erotic aliveness is in your definition. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yes. First of all, to be hailed the eroticism queen, it's like, wow, my reputation precedes me. I feel honored. Erotic aliveness for me is the fullness of our experience as women. It's very easy to hear the word erotic or eroticism and immediately have our minds go to sexuality. The erotic includes the sexual and sexual acts. It is not all that the erotic is. We can do anything erotically. We can drink coffee erotically. We can walk down the street erotically. We can have sex erotically. We can create content erotically. So the way I view eroticism is being fully engaged in something, fully present, fully there, fully immersed in the experience. And when we show up to our lives that way, we feel and we experience it all. That is when we experience our eros, our life force energy flow through us. So the erotic is everything. And when we experience all aspects of our lives, we experience bliss. There's a saying that says, any emotion fully felt is bliss. We can be fully alive in our anger, in our sadness, in our grief, in our ecstasy, in our joy. All of it can be blissful and erotic when we allow ourselves to fully experience it. So for me, erotic aliveness is fully experiencing life.
I love that. I love the part about even like the crunchy, sometimes darker pieces, like grief being something that can also be pleasurable or erotic, whatever word you want to use inside of that. Because I've had conversations with people where I'm like, you can have pleasure in all parts of your life. You can have access to your erotic energy in so many different areas. And when I mention things that are a little, not what you would think of as erotic, they're like, how do you even do that? So is there something on that you would want to share? If like, how would you do that in terms of if things are, I don't know, chaotic, or if it's maybe something a little bit darker, like depression or grief, what is that side of eroticism? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll give an example from my life recently, and then I'll go into some of the bits that you asked about. Last week I had a cold, and the first place my mind went was, I'm supposed to be here teaching about erotic aliveness, and here I am feeling kind of dead in this cold. And there's a time and place to acknowledge that we don't always have to be on and performing. And that's not what I call erotic aliveness. It's not always that we're center stage with our red dress and red lipstick. It means, again, are we fully with the experience that's happening inside of us? So when I surrendered into that, and I surrendered into the cold that I was experiencing, congestion, phlegm, lethargy, just you name it. When I fully gave myself to that, and I surrendered to it as if I was giving myself over to a lover, then I made peace with it. There was a place inside of the lethargy, the congestion, the not being able to breathe, the having to sleep with my mouth open and getting dry mouth and things that don't feel very sexy.
Yeah.
When I gave myself over to that, it just became another part of my experience. And I got to experience another facet. Like, it's interesting to experience life congested. It's not necessarily fun, but it's another way to experience life. And when I can view it as, okay, I'm having another flavor of experience as a human, and I give myself over to it while still taking care of myself to recover, then there's no resistance. There's no pushback, and I'm not perpetuating whatever the condition is. And so that's how I go about navigating grief with erotic aliveness, navigating anger with erotic aliveness, a cold, like any state of being, when we're fully there and present to it, and also have a tether to that we are not that thing. I am not the cold. I am not the depression that I experience. I'm not the anxiety that I experience.
Yeah.
Then we can fully give ourselves to it without drowning in it.
I was gonna say, when you identify with it, it becomes such a big part of your identity too. It's like, no, I'm just experiencing this thing versus I am this thing.
Yes.
I am depressed. I am grief stricken. I am this thing. And it like settles a lot in the body, at least from my own experience with grief. If I were to attach that up, like, I am grieving. Yes, you are. And also you are experiencing grief versus it's something that's such a big part of who you are. Amazing. Something you said around, I surrendered to it, which I know surrender is a big word, especially nowadays. Like, there's so many people that it's become a buzzword, and I love it. Can you walk through a little bit of like what that looks like? Because I feel like surrender, first of all, can get a really bad rap. We know that people have taken it and like made it mean things that it doesn't mean, but also, what does that actually like physically look like in the experience? Because I know we all experience surrender a little differently, and I would love to be able to like showcase what that looks like for you, maybe, or what you've even seen with other people.
Yeah. And, I'll say that my definition of surrender and my experience of it is not a one-size-fits-all definition. One of the foundational aspects of surrender is safety. And it's almost near impossible to surrender to something fully when safety isn't present, whether it's surrendering to an aspect of ourselves, surrendering to an experience we're having, surrendering to the leadership of another person in or out of the bedroom, right? Surrendering to the leadership of our employer. Safety has to be present. And so for me, when I say surrender into something, I go to great lengths to create an internal sense of safety. And what safety looks like for me is, even from a practical perspective, I might put my hands on my body and say, I'm here with you. I got you. I love you. If I'm going through something hard, everything's going to be okay, and it's okay that it feels hard. I'm right here with you. I'll never leave your side. We're going to get through this. And those ways of creating safety allow my nervous system to relax and be at ease. And this is not some complex process. This is hands-on body, feeling my own physical touch and presence. And I like to press firmly so I can really feel myself in that. And then I'm using simple phrases. I love you, I got you, I'm here with you, you're safe. Phrases that our inner child would understand. So this is not about the intellect. This is about very foundational nervous system attunement with ourselves. That creates a level of safety that we know we're not going to abandon or reject ourselves in whatever experience we're experiencing. And take this and apply it to dating, love, money making, and work, any experience in life. When I feel that level of safety, then internally what I experience is a bit of a letting go. Maybe my pelvic floor drops and relaxes. Maybe my tummy becomes more supple. Maybe the tension in my jaw releases a bit. Now I'm surrendering into myself. There's a relaxation, like I'm just resting down into my own body. there isn't as much hypervigilance or watchfulness because I'm trying to protect myself either from myself or from something else.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like you're like way up here or like chaos type of energy. It's more like, it's very grounded. It's honestly, I always say it's like, whenever I experience that, it feels like everything is up here and it's very heady. And then when I surrender into the feeling of safety in my own nervous system, I feel it literally lower, as if I am like grounded like a tree.
Yes.
And so I don't know if that's the same or similar feeling to what you're describing.
Yeah, it's like the feeling that you get when you finally take a deep breath and you're like, yeah. It's like, oh, I'm here.
Yeah.
And the phrase, I'm here, like, I am where I am. Even saying that in a moment of anxiety, fear, depression, anger. Okay, here I am. Just acknowledging what is creates so much safety. That safety is the foundation for surrender, where we relax. And I say that in relation to self because so often we can become our own perpetrators. Mm-hmm. Self-criticism, self-judgment, you name it. Like, we all have the things that we do to ourselves.
Yeah.
And that keeps us guarded, defensive, closed off from the experience of life that we really want to have and from our erotic aliveness. So when I say surrender, it's an active choice. It is a conscientious choice. And it requires courage, trust, and safety. And so that surrender is almost a letting go and a resting into.
I love that. I feel like recently, I actually just purchased a weighted blanket.
Oh, yes.
Oh my God, they're so wonderful. And I was like, why would I want something heavy on myself? First of all, that doesn't make any sense. But when I got it, I noticed, like I have an evening routine now, a ritual that I have before I go to bed. And part of it is like wrapping myself in the weighted blanket, like someone is hugging me from behind. And I like to imagine, sometimes, not all the time, that I have like my partner, like my beautiful masculine partner, like, I got you, like hugging me and holding me. And then I do like breathing exercises and things like that. So I feel like in those instances, I can feel my body like literally surrender and ease into the experience that I'm sitting in, which allows me to then like meditate better or visualize or things like that. And you know, being in the theme of erotic aliveness, it does feel sensual in that way, where I'm like, oh, I'm in this beautiful bedroom and I can just like feel myself breathing and like even like feeling your own organs moving and being like, okay, wow, this beautiful body of mine having this weight on me that feels like an amazing hug. And I mean, obviously people who are listening and watching don't know this, but you know this about me, is that like physical touch was not my thing. Still kind of isn't sometimes, but to have like, to imagine your partner, or even obviously you can do it self-resourcing and everything, but to imagine that and be like, oh no, I want to be held with this weighted blanket and really just be in my body and be in this experience. Like, I love the sensuality and eroticism that comes out of that. And it has nothing to do with sexuality. Like, it has nothing to do with sex or anything like that. So that's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah. I love that for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for listening to this Wildly Satisfied production. I hope you enjoyed the show, and we would love it if you would share it with someone that you love, leave a review, or come tag us on social media at Wildly Satisfied.